Welcome to another lovely episode of the Panty Nectar podcast. It is number 47. So wherever you are listening today, in your car, on a walk, or maybe you're even at work, thank you so much for listening to 47. Before we get into today's episode, I'm going to welcome my lovely co-host up to the mic, Mr. P.
Luckiest man on earth. Hello, Panty Nectar. Thank you so much again for having me, my dear. It is great to be with you. I can't believe we're here once again. We always say that, and it's just amazing. So we're fucking shocked just like you guys.
It is pretty great. Of course, I am always in my robe, but I do have panties on this time.
You do?
So I'm not completely naked.
Uh-oh.
I do have purple lavender panties on that if you are an OnlyFans member or even a Discord premium member, you will be seeing a very hot video from last night.
I like it.
Mr. P gave me a very full cream pie in these panties last night. So
yes, it was a good one.
Stay tuned for that. That was we actually last night got a couple different angles, so it was really cool to get creative a little bit with the lighting and the angles and make sure that I know at one point you were eating me out, and so the back camera got that view. And then the front camera got the view of when you were fucking me. So so it's nice to have, the different camera angles to capture the different moments like that.
Yeah, I really like it. It's fun to experiment and do all the different things. And I saw a comment on Reddit. Someone was saying, hey, whatever camera you're using, keep using it. So we'll keep using that camera right there and enjoy it. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. Putting out different types of content, and the fun part is it just never ends. You know, it's like that's the cool part, because I've thought about it's are we ever going to run out of things to do
or get bored
I've honestly thought about it, and it's like well, am I ever going to get tired of having sex? No. So therefore I'm never going to run out of things to do. So
yeah, it's interesting. You and I are both I think our marriage and our relationship in general works great because we kind of have the same ideologies. We kind of have the same mindset when it comes to certain things. And you and I are both people that get bored pretty easily. I kind of if I'm bored, I'll move on to the next thing. That's just how I've always worked. And maybe that's not always a good thing, but it's just something that I've always done.
Right.
So it is surprising to me, you and I have been married for a couple years now, and it never gets old. Nothing gets old. And I think maybe what keeps it so spicy is we know people are wanting to watch what we're doing. And so that's exciting to me. I think that's exciting to you too. And so I think that's something that kind of keeps it fun for the both of us is it is the both of us. And whereas maybe in previous relationships, we'd go off and do our own things. This kind of allows us to be creative in that same space together in a relationship. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really is. And we've discussed about how if people want to spice up their own sex life, become a creator. It's like if you're a couple, it's harder if you're singles and looking for somebody to quote unquote collab with. Not a fan of that terminology, but nonetheless, that's the way it goes. But yeah, if you're a couple, you can really, really find out a lot about yourself. You start posting your shit online,
No doubt.
But more or less, it just really opens up who you are, I think, and it's helped us a lot. It really has, just be more open and free and honest and non-judgmental, and not only just non-judgmental as far as I'm not going to judge others. It's no, non-judgmental with yourself as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, us, it makes us have some tough conversations sometimes, but we also get a lot of fun out of it. So weighing those pros and cons and being able to, we always say, filter out the noise, that's so important. I actually had a Reddit fan message me the other day, and they actually brought up an interesting topic that I'm not too familiar with, just because I don't do it, you don't do it. So I spoke with this person a little bit about it, and the topic is cross-dressing.
Oh yeah.
So This was a particular user on Reddit who was very open about being a cross-dresser. And after his first message, I decided, let me dig a little bit and ask this guy some questions. And so I noticed in his original message to me, he had said that his wife was like up for it at first, and then like she kind of wasn't cool with it. And so he ended up making plans outside of the house with a friend to be able to cross-dress with. And so I was very intrigued by that situation. And so I decided to ask him, like, can I ask you some more questions about your kink and what you're into about it and all of that? And so we got talking a little bit. And, you know, I was very curious on the aspect of like his wife not being about it, because for most people, like that stops them right there.
Right.
Like my partner's not about it, so I can't be who I want to be. And so just move on with what I want, settle, move on. So I asked him how that conversation went with his wife. Like, was she okay with it? How did you guys come to that conclusion? And he said that like at first his wife was very open to it. She would put makeup on him. And, you know, to this person, he just feels really good when he's in dresses and skirts and makeup and heels. And he said he's kind of always felt that way. He can remember always wanting to put on a dress and always wanting to having that inner feeling to want to try those things. So kudos to him for exploring that more. And also kudos to him for not just settling on his kink. And he said his wife ended up not kind of like after a while being like, okay, maybe I'm not into it as much and like don't really like it as much, kind of like us. Like I'm into more of an alpha male.
Right.
So you're not walking around wearing panties.
Right. That you know of.
Exactly.
You haven't looked underneath my pants.
That's why they're everywhere. No, I'm just kidding.
This lace set I'm wearing right now feels good. Teasing.
Could you imagine if you had just like a little lace G-string sticking out?
Hey, man, so many people do it. It's like there must be something to it. You never know. I might pop up one day with a fucking G-string.
Just be wearing a thong. But, you know, this particular guy, he had that uncomfortable conversation with his wife. And they decided that he would find someone outside of the home, which happens to be another male cross-dresser, I believe, that he goes to their house and they dress up together and they do that stuff together. And he's so happy about it. And sometimes they rub cocks and then he goes home. And everyone lives a happy life. So I don't know. I was very intrigued by that. You don't see a lot of people... You see a lot of people stopping when they feel any kind of resistance from their significant other, like, which I think is an issue with a lot of people. Like, yes, there needs to be more kind of uncomfortable conversations. You and I have been able to come to each other and be like, hey, maybe you find this a little weird that I'm into, but this is what I'm into. Can we do this? And where you may retreat when your significant other starts to be like, I think like it's very important to have an open mind and not let your ego shut it down. So like when you may be feeling like your partner's not into it, then you just react and, okay, yes. No, I'm not into this. Never mind. Just forget it. And, or they blow up on their partner and it's like, wait a second, you're asking your partner to like, give them a minute. Let them think about this for a second. They deserve that. And if they're not into it, you have to respect that they're not into it. But also, that's where a conversation needs to be had because you have needs. And if that's something that's important to you, then that needs to be vocalized. And like this couple, they made arrangements to make it work. The wife didn't technically want to see it, but she wants her husband to be happy. So they did what they needed to do. I thought that was a very interesting, especially on the extreme of cross-dressing, because that's not just like I like giving blowjobs. That's like an extreme kink to me anyways. I think it's more on the kinkier side of things. So I don't know, kudos to that guy for sure for being able to do that.
Yeah, I fully agree. I'm not sure so much if like cross-dressing is like so much of a kink necessarily as it is just of what modern society considers unconventional.
Right.
You know, and I think because of that, that because it is so unconventional, everybody has their judgments to it, right? Like, men should not be wearing women's clothes. Right. That's just like the thought. Men should not. So like people who feel the need to cross dress, there are so many people who cross dress and they go out in public and they feel comfortable enough to do it. And a lot of those people have felt that way their whole life. Some of them have just come across it and like, oh my God, this cross dressing thing is amazing to me. And they go out in public and do it. But then there's also that segment of people, I think probably maybe a majority that they don't feel comfortable enough to do it in public,
right.
Or they feel that they have to keep that behind closed doors, because what's my boss going to think if he knows that I dress like a woman on Saturday nights?
Right.
Well, that's a good question, but like we get fuck your boss.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, fuck your boss.
So that's a great example. It's like to say I'm not into it. I've never tried it, so it's one of those things. Don't knock it till you try it. But I've never done it, right? So not my thing. It's just not something I'm interested in. But it's great to hear this story because this is a perfect example of really the way that couples can work through things, because we live in such a binary society where like it's either black or white, right or wrong. And it's like, well, when you're in a relationship, that there's not really a right or wrong. Right. There's always this gray area, and it's like, well, we can work around this, we can do that. There's always a solution as well. And their solution was, and it's neat to hear, I would love to hear their story like in more detail, especially from the wife's perspective, because I think that's very interesting that she was more okay with it at first. And then she kind of had a change of heart along the way. And we don't know really what that was that made that come about. But yet, even after that change of heart, she was able to support her significant other's decisions to do what he wants to do.
Right.
Because she knows that that's going to satisfy him. And in order for them to be in a happy relationship, he needs to be happy. And so she allows him to go do those things. And I'm sure that there's obvious parameters that they play within. But that's great. And I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah.
I wish a lot more people would, both of us, you and I both get messages all the time about people that are like, oh, I even got one this morning. It was to a response to the anal video, the little anal clip on Reddit. And someone was like, hey, how do I get my wife to, one, enjoy this position and enjoy anal, because she's not really into it. And like my first thought is always like communicate. If she doesn't like it, she doesn't like it. But you can always do your part and communicate what that is that you are wanting. I think a lot of couples, they just settle and they decide to not move forward and not move backwards and not move anywhere, and they just stay stuck in the same old thing. And I just wish people would communicate more.
Yeah, I think communication is key, like we've discussed on the podcast multiple times, and it seems to always come up again. So I think this is something that really needs to be discussed, especially every day for men, right? Because I am one of them, and it's like men have a tough time communicating, right? There's those guys, don't get me wrong, there's those guys out there. I have a friend lives in Austin. He just loves to talk. He's like a woman, he could spend all day talking on the phone. But most guys aren't like that, and most guys, especially when it comes to relationships, they feel like kind of this like, oh, I need to be tough, right? Like I keep my things inside and not show emotion and stuff. And it's like, it's great to let that stuff go. And when you do, the ego associated with it, and realize that if you are in a relationship, there's a reason why you're in a relationship. And it's to be happy and to make that person happy and to have that
happy life.
That happy life. And if you're in a relationship and you're not having that, like all of us have been in the past, I hope that you can move forward past that, because that is a shitty, shitty place to be.
Right.
And the thing that has really helped me, with us, and is the open communication aspect to it, because I know I'm not the greatest communicator now, and I think you'd probably agree with that, but I've been much, much worse in past relationships. You know, it's hard for me to talk about how I feel, and it's not even like really talk about how I feel. It's like, I don't even know that like I really even respond to my own emotions at times. You know what I mean? It's just like, as a guy, it's kind of like we don't even look at some shit. You know, we just maybe throw it under the rug sometimes, or in the closet or whatever, with all the sex toys and bondage shit, and lock the door.
Whereas I analyze everything.
Yeah, women are much more prone to sit there and feel, you know, and it's the feelings associated. I remember listening to a Zig Ziglar tape years ago, and if anybody knows who Zig Ziglar is, good on you. But Zig was talking about, and I guess I should say, he was one of the world's greatest salespersons. And one of the things that I really took from him was that when you're going to... if you're selling something or you're throwing a pitch to a couple, right? A man and a wife. Mm-hmm. And if you've kind of gone around to closing the deal, when you finish your presentation, when you talk to the man, you say, what do you think about this? You know, it's a logical thought process to the guy. What do you think about it? But to the woman, according to Zig, it's, how do you feel about this? And that's a powerful thing. And at that moment right there, and I was probably 18, 19 when I heard that. And it was like, wow, like there is so much in Zig Ziglar, he's just taking what works, right? Like he's tried all these different things throughout his life, and he's like, oh, this works. But I think there's probably a lot more science to that. And it just goes to show, that it's harder, that men and women think differently, and guys, it's harder for us to communicate. And, But when we do communicate, we do a much better job in a relationship for sure. And it's tough,
No, and that's what everyone thinks, that like, you walk up to me or me walk up to you and I'm like, hey, this is what I want, or vice versa. And like, that's not how it is. We're not perfect humans either. Like we sometimes have a hard time communicating as well, but we know that the bigger picture is us having a relationship. And so like sometimes if we need to just step away from it, we step away from it. And sometimes if we need to dig into it, we dig into it. But we always remember that the problem is the problem, not the other person at the end of the day.
And then communication too, communicating is giving and taking, right? It's a ebb and flow of data, if you will. And sometimes there's things that we say that maybe we shouldn't have said, and it's like during that time of communicating, be kind, be thoughtful to your partner. I know it's difficult sometimes, especially like if you get in an argument or something like that, but it needs to be done.
Well, especially like, especially if you're around your partner all the time, or you're around your kids and your partner all the time, and you're in this stressful, like life can get stressful.
100%.
It's not easy. Like life can definitely get stressful. So it's always important to communicate, because, there's even sometimes where the dishes will piss you off, and, you have to communicate real issues and let go of the shit that's not real issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, life can be very stressful, and one thing that really helped me out, really kind of one of the things that got me through boot camp in a weird way. Like I don't talk, but like it's like it was, man, this fucking sucks, but it can always get worse.
Always,
and then it's like, well, can it? And then the next day comes and it's worse. You're like, shit, I wish it was yesterday again.
Yeah,
it's like it can always get worse. So be happy with where you are too, and never get too caught up in it.
Yeah, I think perspective is also a big thing. Like being able to be grateful, and like, there's sometimes where like I get frustrated at little shit, and then you sit there and think, and you're like, okay, but like, was that even a reason to be upset? Because it's such a small thing, and in the grand scheme of things, like you cleaning out your coffee cup does not matter. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, think about most things in life up to this point to the present moment where we're sitting at. Like, does really much of most anything? I mean, like, even these perceived bad things that happen, it's like, well, were they really bad? I mean, it's like,
or what did they? Yeah, exactly. No, we definitely we strive to make sure that all of our followers and listeners try to change their perspective on the way that they look at things, on the way that they communicate things, and
100%.
just everything overall. I think it can make you, one, have a better relationship with yourself, and help you have a better relationship with your partner, and maybe even help you have a better family atmosphere if you're at home. Like, I think the important thing to remember is that, like, your relationship comes first, in a sense. Your home is supposed to be the safe haven, the happiest place. So I think it's important to always communicate with your partner, and make sure that happy home is solid, because without that, like, okay, you went and exercised and that's great, but then you're fucking dreading coming home from the gym back to your significant other,
Right.
Like, that's not fun.
No.
So do that dirty work. And like, I think, Mr. P says it often, like, I'm not advocate for families being destroyed, but I'm also an advocate for, if divorce makes two people happier single or maybe with other people, then maybe that's the option too.
Yes.
We need to look at it that way. Everything needs to be looked at in a place of growth, not in a place of like, oh, I'm divorced now, what am I going to do? Like, no, I'm divorced now. I can take this time to focus on myself, to make me a better person for my next partner. Right. There's always a different mindset, perspective. I just think all that's so important.
Yeah, I think, you say, definitely not an advocate of families being destroyed, obviously, right? But like, if it comes to the time that divorce is the best option, well, let's face it, it's destroyed already.
Exactly.
So it's unfortunate that it's got to that situation, of course, and especially if there's children, right?
Mm-hmm.
This couple has children. I mean, that's just the most, and that's why so many people stay together way past the time it's, is because they do it for the kids, which is admirable on one hand, because they want what's best for the kids, and I fully understand that. But then on the other hand, you have to also weigh, is it, especially if the children are younger, well, you still may have 10, 15 years of raising these kids inside this miserable fucking home. And is that what you want to do?
Right.
No,
that was my home life experience. Yeah. My parents loved each other, but my mom stayed for her kids.
Right.
And she stayed until that imploded on itself. Right. There wasn't like, it was like, okay, my kids are going to graduate and then we'll do what we need to do. It didn't wait that long, and that unhappiness surfaced for years until it finally imploded on itself. And we were all kind of hit with fragments from that grenade. So, yeah, I do think it's important to have some serious conversations sometimes if necessary, because I would never want my kids to waste 10, 15, 20 years of their life and then realize at age 30, like, okay, this is not the way I want to live. I want to go live it another way. You know what I mean? Like, go live your life for you, period.
Yeah. And especially, like, not to get into too much of like personal life stuff, but my parents got divorced when I was young as well. And my mom had been remarried, and my stepdad is like a father to me, and he has been since I was a little kid. But I also have a father who is my dad. He's my number one father, right? So like for me, I have a completely different perspective from most people. Maybe not most, but many, especially if you're a product of divorce, for a lack of a better term. But if your parents got divorced when you were a child, it's like so many people, that was like the fucking downfall, and it was like life became crappy after that because mom had to go take 3 jobs and, didn't get home till 10, all this stuff. And so for me, it was kind of the opposite where, yes, like my parents splitting up was absolutely horrific, and it's still something that it stays with you forever. I mean, it never goes away. But at the same time, like I'm also I also understand that my mom got remarried, and like she remarried once after my parents got divorced, and like she's been remarried ever since, and she's happy as fuck. And like my stepdad treats me and my siblings like kids, and he always has. And it's like So like I've always said, I've kind of been fortunate enough to have like two dads to grow up with, and like two completely, both of them, and they're like opposites in many ways, but they're both great men, and so it's not always a bad thing too. I think bad in the sense of like it's not finite, right? Like so many people think like, oh, I got divorced, I'm done, I'll never find another girl again, another guy again, that's it, this was the only person. It's like there are 8 billion people in this world. There's plenty of people out there, and there's somebody for you. I promise it. Even if you thought that this last person was the person for you, there's somebody else out there, just keep moving.
Yeah, and I think it's important, like, if you do choose to get divorced, to realize that it does affect your kids. And so I think it's important, like, say you and I get divorced, we are not in a relationship any longer. I don't get to control your shit. You don't get to control my shit. But we still have kids together, so we're going to co-parent very well.
Right.
We're going to show our kids that you are still a good person. I'm still a good person. It doesn't have anything to do with our relationship, which is where a lot of parents mess up. They make it about the other person. Your dad's a piece of shit, or your mom's a piece of shit.
What your mom did to me, or what your dad did to me.
Exactly.
Well, fuck, that ain't me.
Exactly.
Like,
I think.
Why did they do that to you?
Yeah, and that's all ego. That's all ego.
Yes.
So I think it's important. Like, if you do choose to get divorced, then choose to hold yourself accountable and put forth your best person. Work on things for you. Learn how to be a good co-parent, because your children deserve that. Those things are so important. I just think like growth never stops. And if you stop growing, then people start getting hurt. That's just how the world works. So I think we need to always choose to just how to move forward in a positive direction, how to
be a better person.
Yeah, in
moving
general.
forward, and let the past go.
Exactly.
Let the past go. Who gives a shit? It's the past. That's the thing. Eckhart Tolle, you don't know who he is. If you have problems like worrying about the past and future where it's like impending doom, please listen to one of Eckhart Tolle's books. Read his book. He has a couple of them, but I think the best one for me was A New Earth. It's amazing. Just like the past is not even a reality.
Right.
Like it's not. It's all we have. All we literally have is this moment right now.
Yeah.
And so anything that we're worried about, what's going to happen today, someone's thinking, no, Mr. P, you don't understand. I had this meeting with my boss at 10 a.m. this morning that he's going to say this. It's like, hadn't happened yet.
And if he says that,
you think it's,
right.
We get so many thoughts in our heads that our brain can just jump to this conclusion. And all of a sudden, like you had, this meeting that you have with your boss at 10 a.m. is now he's going to fire you. Well, really and truly, he might be giving you a raise.
Right.
That he heard that you did a great job, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like the point of that is that like situations are really never as bad as you think they would be when you're going in.
Right. So live in this present moment, be present, be kind, and
be happy.
Be happy. Take accountability, drop your ego. That is a big, gosh, I cannot stress anything more than like drop your ego, take accountability for yourself, not for anyone else. Take accountability for yourself and dig deep. Find out what you really want, who you are, what you want in a partner, all those things.
Life will be better.
Yes. Well, thank you, Mr. P, for joining me for episode 47.
Thank you, Penny Nectar.
I love that we discuss like cross-dressing and divorce.
Yeah.
Like
so
what?
if you want to be a divorce cross-dresser, listen to us.
No, just random. Our things are just random, and we just love to chit-chat, and especially about the things that we're passionate about, and that's about being a good person.
Well, and it's also things that get brought up to us.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. 47. Thank you for listening, and we will see you guys next time.
See you.